The dust rose in spirals around Dr. Elena Martinez as she leaned closer to the metallic surface, brushing away the weight of millennia. Every stroke of her hand revealed more of the buried structure, and with it, a deeper sense of unease. Kepler 442b was supposed to be routine. Another archaeological dig at the edge of known space. Another forgotten ruin, left behind by some long-extinct race whose mysteries would never fully be solved. The Galactic Council had long ago catalogued these ruins as the work of an unknown civilization, one that had vanished long before any of today's spacefaring empires had kindled their first fusion drives. But this site was different. Elena stood and looked up at the colossal shape rising from the ochre soil. Nearly 200 meters tall, its surface shimmered faintly beneath the alien sun, carved with symbols and designs that seemed to defy every attempt at classification. 3 months of excavation had only deepened the mystery. At the edge of the dig, Captain Jake Morrison folded his arms, boots crunching on gravel as he surveyed the team. The captain of Horizon's Edge had ferried scientists across half the galaxy. In his experience, ancient alien ruins almost always meant little more than broken walls, decayed shrines, or long-dead rituals. Curiosities, yes, but hardly the great revelations archaeologists always promised. He sighed. Dr. Martinez, how much longer? We've been out here for months, and all I see are walls and scratches. Strange symbols, sure, but nothing that changes the galaxy. Elena wiped her brow and met his gaze. Her dark eyes burned with determination. Captain, this place is not like the others. Look closely at the symbols. The geometry, the ratios. Whoever built this wasn't just carving art. They were embedding mathematics, concepts that most galactic civilizations are only beginning to grasp. Morrison squinted at the markings. To him, they looked like scratches on stone. Maybe they were clever. Doesn't make them unique. The Voron Collective builds megastructures larger than moons. That's not the point, Elena pressed. These ruins predate the Voron. They predate the Zeltharians. Our surveys place this complex at least 50,000 years old. Her words hung heavy in the air. 50,000 years. That was older than any known starfaring species. Before Jake could reply, Dr. Kevin Walsh, their linguist, approached, data pad trembling slightly in his hands. Elena. You need to see this. They followed him to a newly uncovered wall, its surface etched with dozens of intricate patterns. Kevin pointed at a repeating sequence. These symbols, he said, voice taut with wonder. They aren't random. Look here, pi. And here, the golden ratio. And this. Elena, this is the Drake equation. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. The Drake equation, an ancient human formula estimating the number of intelligent civilizations in the galaxy. A concept born on Earth centuries ago. And yet here it was, carved into alien stone tens of millennia before humanity's first rocket. That's impossible, Morrison muttered. Humans only entered space a few decades ago. Everyone knows that. Elena's stomach tightened. She didn't want to admit it, but Kevin was right. The more symbols they decoded, the more familiar the logic seemed. Too familiar. Before the conversation could continue, Dr. Amy Stevens came running, her voice echoing across the dig. Elena. You need to see this. Now. The team hurried after her, toward the heart of the site where a vast metallic door had been unearthed. It gleamed with an alloy no scanner could classify, sealed tight for untold ages. Symbols covered its surface, not decorative, but purposeful. Like a code. Amy gestured toward the inscriptions. It's some kind of lock. And this alloy? Unbreakable by anything we know. Kevin examined the sequence, his brow furrowed. After a long silence, his face went pale. Elena. This isn't just a door. It's a genetic lock. A what? Morrison demanded. It means, Elena whispered, that this door will only open to a specific DNA sequence. The DNA of its builders. Amy's scanner hummed, then displayed its results. When she read them aloud, her voice shook. The genetic signature it's looking for is human. The door opened with a hiss like the sigh of time itself. Beyond lay a chamber vast and silent, its air sharp with ozone. Rows of metallic cylinders lined the walls, each glowing faintly with a blue liquid. Preservation chambers. Hundreds of them. Elena's pulse quickened as she brushed her hand along the smooth alloy. Through the transparent top of one, she glimpsed strands of genetic material suspended in light. Amy's scanner beeped, flashing data that made no sense. Elena, this is human DNA. Not similar. Not analogous. Actual human sequences, preserved here for 50,000 years. Morrison shook his head in disbelief. That's not possible. Humans didn't even exist that long ago. Or, Elena murmured, our history is incomplete. Kevin had moved to a nearby panel, his eyes scanning a labyrinth of symbols. Slowly, patterns emerged. Directories. Access codes. A system waiting to be reawakened. Elena, he whispered. This is a data archive. Almost instinctively, she placed her hand on the panel. The symbols lit at her touch, as though remembering her. A holographic display erupted into the chamber, star maps, technical diagrams, images unmistakably human in origin. Earth's solar system shimmered in the air, but with details and measurements far beyond modern capability. The chamber pulsed with revelation. Amy pointed to one of the projections. This is a stellar map of the local neighborhood, but they knew about systems we've only discovered in the last few years. Jake stepped closer, his skepticism faltering. If humans built this, if they had this knowledge, where did they go? The floor shuddered. A hidden compartment slid open, revealing a larger cylinder at the center. Inside was not DNA, but a device pulsing with impossible energy, a database of staggering scale. Amy's instruments shook with the reading. This archive contains millions of libraries worth of data. History. Technology. Culture. All waiting for us to remember. Kevin accessed a summary. His voice cracked as he read. This facility was built by the Terran hegemony. An advanced human civilization that ruled this region of the galaxy, 50,000 years ago. The silence that followed was deafening. Elena stared at the maps, her heart caught between awe and dread. Faster than light travel. Artificial gravity. Planetary engineering. Weapons beyond comprehension. All of it human, long before humanity believed it had even begun. The Terran hegemony. Humanity's forgotten empire. And the question now hung over them all, why had it been erased from history? The chamber's glow bathed the excavation team in shifting light. Maps, schematics, fragments of history, everything around them whispered of a civilization both magnificent and terrifying. Dr. Elena Martinez felt her breath catch as the holographic projection expanded. Towering cities stretched across alien worlds. Fleets of warships hung in orbit, their silhouettes sharp and predatory. Great rings encircled stars, harvesting their energy like gods bending the laws of creation. This was not the dream of a future humanity might one day build. This was a record of what had already been built. Jake Morrison finally broke the silence. You're telling me humans, our humans, did this 50,000 years ago? That we ruled star systems when our history books still put us in caves? Kevin Walsh shook his head, his fingers flying across the interface. Not just ruled. They dominated. The Terran hegemony wasn't a minor player, it was the central power of this sector. For thousands of years. Amy's voice wavered. If that's true, why is there nothing left? No ruins on Earth. No memory in our cultures. No mention anywhere in the Galactic Council archives. Elena's eyes lingered on the star maps. So many systems marked with Terran sigils. So many worlds catalogued as colonies. And yet in the present day, not one of them bore evidence of human habitation. It was erased, she said softly. Someone, or something, didn't just destroy the hegemony. They wiped it from galactic memory. The archive yielded fragments. Snippets of battles. Records of treaties with alien civilizations long extinct. Declarations of supremacy carved in both language and blood. Kevin found himself entranced by a sequence of military campaigns. Look at this, whole empires brought to their knees. The hegemony didn't just expand, they crushed opposition. It was brutal, efficient, inevitable. Jake grunted. Sounds less like a golden age and more like tyranny. But Amy countered, pointing at another set of projections, sprawling academies, networks of medicine and art, genetic libraries meant to preserve the diversity of life. It wasn't all conquest. They built, they preserved, they guided. Elena studied the dichotomy. Perhaps both are true. A civilization powerful enough to create and destroy at will. She turned to Kevin. What about their fall? Is there any record? He hesitated, scrolling through corrupted fragments. Nothing coherent. References to a war. An enemy unnamed. And then, silence. The last entries were chilling. Containment protocols initiated. All archives sealed. Memory must be broken. Elena felt a shiver run through her. Memory must be broken. The words echoed like a verdict. That night, under the alien stars, the dig site was restless. The workers whispered of omens. Of old powers that should not have been disturbed. Jake found Elena standing apart from the camp, her gaze fixed on the faint shimmer of the ruins in the distance. You're not sleeping either, he said. She shook her head. How could I? Everything we've believed about humanity is wrong. We're not newcomers to the galaxy. We're survivors of something older. Jake's jaw tightened. And maybe something dangerous. Empires that rise like that, usually fall for a reason. Maybe it's better history forgot. But history didn't forget, Elena said. It was erased. That means someone feared what we were. Or feared what we could be again. He looked at her, reading the unease in her eyes. And you're afraid of the same thing? Elena didn't answer. By morning, Kevin had made a breakthrough. I've decrypted a section of the archive, he announced, his voice brimming with excitement and dread. It's instructions. Amy leaned in. Instructions for what? For us, Kevin said simply. The hegemony left behind protocols. Contingency plans for their descendants. Elena's heart skipped. They expected us to return. Kevin nodded. This wasn't abandonment. It was preparation. They hid knowledge, sealed away archives, left genetic locks only we could open. They believed humanity would forget, fall into darkness, but eventually rise again. Jake swore under his breath. And now we're opening their vaults. Doing exactly what they wanted. Amy's hands trembled as she scrolled through the decoded text. Some of this is technological schematics, drives faster than anything in the Council fleets, weapon systems beyond comprehension. But other parts, she swallowed. Other parts are warnings. Elena leaned closer. The symbols resolved into chilling clarity, beware the architects. Architects? Jake repeated. Who the hell are they? Kevin shook his head. No details. Just fragments. A war the hegemony couldn't win. An enemy that builds and unbuilds civilizations. The reason they sealed their knowledge. Elena felt the weight of it. If the Terran hegemony, masters of star systems, rulers of fleets, had fallen to this enemy, what chance did humanity have now? Later, as the team argued, Amy spoke words that silenced them all. "We shouldn't report this to the council." Jake stared at her. "Excuse me? You know what they'll do," Amy pressed. "If the other species learn humanity once ruled an empire like this, they'll never see us as equals. They'll see us as a threat. As a rival waiting to rise again." Kevin added, "She's right. The Voron, the Zelfarians, the Council, they'd tear us apart before letting us reclaim any of this. The only reason humans were admitted into the Council was because we were small, harmless. This changes everything." Jake crossed his arms. "And what do you propose? That we just sit on the biggest discovery in galactic history?" Elena finally spoke, her voice calm but firm. "We don't hide it. But we don't share it recklessly either. Humanity needs time to understand what we were, and what we could become. If the Council learns too soon, they'll decide our future for us." Jake met her gaze. "And you're assuming our future is one the galaxy wants?" Elena looked back at the shimmering ruins. "Our future may not be theirs to decide." That evening, the team gathered once more in the archive chamber. Kevin had unlocked one final message, a message not written for ancient humanity, but for them. The hologram flickered to life. A figure appeared, human, tall, armored, his face obscured by a helm of light. His voice, though distorted by time, carried with it an authority that stilled the room. "To those who awaken this archive," the figure intoned, "you are our children, though you may not remember us. We are the Terran hegemony, the stewards of humanity's first destiny. We built, we conquered, we preserved, and we fell. But we did not vanish. We seeded the stars with echoes of ourselves, that one day you would rise again." The figure raised a hand, and the hologram shifted to display fleets of ships, planets forged into fortresses, civilizations kneeling under Terran banners. "Know this, the galaxy will not welcome your return. They will fear you, for they once feared us. And beyond them lies the greater shadow, those we named the Architects. They are patient. They are eternal. They will awaken when you do." The image flickered, breaking apart into fragments of light. And then came the final words. "Do not forget who you are. Do not forget what we were. The hegemony endures, in you." The hologram faded. And in the silence that followed, the weight of destiny settled over them all. The days that followed felt heavy, as though the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Elena Martinez could not shake the words of the hologram. "Do not forget who you are." Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the fleets, the burning stars, the declaration of a power that had once belonged to humanity, and might yet belong again. But the discovery could not remain theirs alone. Already, the whispers had begun. A trader passing too close to the dig site. A transmission intercepted by curious ears. In the vast lattice of galactic politics, silence was impossible. And soon, the Council knew. The Galactic Council chamber was vast, a cathedral of stone and light suspended above the gas giant Dareth 9. Representatives of 100 species filled the tiers, their voices rising in suspicion and unease. At the center, the human delegation stood small. Ordinary. Harmless, or so the galaxy had always believed. But now, every eye was sharp with fear. Counselor Threx of the Voron slammed his claws against the dais. "Explain this, humans. We have intercepted fragments. Archives of a so-called Terran hegemony. Fleets, conquests, technologies far beyond your station. Is this truth, or forgery?" The human ambassador, a weary man named Marcus Hale, stood in the storm. He knew the truth. He knew of Elena's team, of the ruins, of the archive that should have been buried forever. But to reveal it fully would condemn humanity before it could even understand its inheritance. "The evidence you possess," Hale said carefully, "is incomplete. Rumors twisted by time. Humanity has no empire, no fleets, no designs on conquest. We are what you see, newcomers to the stars, seeking only peace. But the counselors were not convinced. The Zeltharian delegate, a towering insectoid, hissed with disdain. Peace? Or deception? History tells us nothing of this hegemony. Yet your species appears, suddenly, recently, too quickly adapted to the void. Perhaps you are not as innocent as you claim. The chamber erupted. Voices clashed, some demanding investigation, others calling for sanctions, and a few urging caution. And in the noise, one truth became clear. The galaxy no longer trusted humanity. Far from the chamber, in the shadow of the dig site, Elena and her team continued to unearth fragments. They worked in silence, each burdened by the knowledge that their discovery was already reshaping history. Kevin's hands trembled as he decrypted another sequence. This is bad. Really bad. Amy leaned closer. What did you find? It's not just warnings about the architects. It's patterns. Records of incursions. Whole star systems collapsing, not by war, but by design. Civilizations erased, rebuilt, and erased again. Jake frowned. You're saying these architects didn't just fight the hegemony, they engineered its fall? Kevin nodded. More than that. They curated it. As if history itself was their canvas. Elena felt her chest tighten. Then we're not just rediscovering the past. We're walking straight into the same cycle. Amy whispered, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why the hegemony wanted us to forget, to delay the architect's return. The chamber's walls pulsed faintly, as though the archive itself was listening. News traveled faster than light, carried on whispers, broadcasts, intercepted transmissions. Across the galaxy, reactions diverged. Some species panicked, stockpiling weapons, convinced the humans were about to unleash ancient fleets. Others dismissed it as myth, a desperate fabrication by a young race seeking relevance. But in the shadows, darker forces stirred. Mercenary guilds received anonymous contracts to target human colonies. Smugglers whispered of forgotten weapons caches. And in the distant reaches of uncharted space, something vast and patient began to move. On Earth, the discovery struck deeper than politics. In universities and military councils, in quiet homes and crowded cities, people wrestled with the revelation. They were not simply children of Earth. They were heirs to something unfathomable. Some were proud. We were great once, we will be great again. Others were terrified. If we were so powerful, why did we fall? And what will come for us now? And in the quiet corners of the net, fringe movements emerged. Groups calling themselves the Hegemony Reborn. Secret cells vowing to reclaim humanity's empire, no matter the cost. Jake watched one such broadcast, jaw clenched. This is how it starts. We're not ready for this kind of power. Not politically. Not morally. Elena sat across from him, her face pale but resolute. Ready or not, the galaxy has decided who we are. We don't get to choose anymore. We can only respond. Then came the first sign. A remote listening post on the edge of council space picked up a signal. At first, it was dismissed as background noise. Radiation, cosmic interference. But patterns emerged. Rhythms. Structures no natural process could form. Kevin stared at the data, his voice barely above a whisper. This isn't random. It's architecture. Someone, or something, is building information out of the void. Amy leaned over his shoulder, dread pooling in her stomach. You think it's them, don't you? Kevin nodded slowly. The architects are awake. The council dismissed it, of course. Too vague. Too abstract. Easier to blame the humans than to face the possibility of an ancient, unseen enemy. But Elena knew better. She had seen the warnings etched into the archives. She had heard the voice that told them the hegemony fell not by chance, but by design. And now, as humanity stood accused before the galaxy, the true enemy stirred beyond the stars. Jake looked at her across the firelight of the camp. So, what now? Do we fight the council? Do we fight the architects? Or do we just survive? Elena's gaze was steady, though fear gnawed at her heart. We remember, she said. That's the first step. For 50,000 years, memory was broken. That was their weapon. But if we remember, if we refuse to let them erase us again, maybe that's how we fight back. The others fell silent. The ruins around them seemed to hum, as though agreeing. And in the vast dark between galaxies, something shifted, watching, waiting, shaping the future as it had shaped the past. The galaxy believed humanity was dangerous because of what they had been. But the truth was far more terrifying. Humanity was dangerous because of what they were about to become.